I had spent 22 years in active addiction. I wouldn't have said that at the time, but it was pretty consistent for those 22 years. What ended up happening in 2014 was my daughter was the last person left in my life. I had really pushed all of my other relationships out of my life because of my addiction. And when the question came to me, either you're going to lose your daughter or stop doing what you're doing, I realized that there was nothing on earth that was important enough to make me stop doing what I was doing. I grew up in a small town in West Texas. I grew up like any other normal kid, involved in sports and, doing it all, trying to be all. The first time I ever drank with the intention of getting drunk for fun, I was 16 years old. And it seemed like it did something special for me. I had never realized how afraid I was or how stressed out I was until I drank. And when I drank, it solved that problem. It made me feel like everybody around me looked. It made me funnier, smarter. It did something very special for me. And from that day forward, I did it as often as I could do it. It was definitely fun in the beginning. It was partying, it was socializing, it was hanging out with your friends, but very quickly it escalated past that. It got to where I was the one drinking more than my friends, and then I'd have to have different sets of friends because nobody wanted to drink as much as I did. It was a slow progression. I don't think that it happened overnight. I can't tell you when it stopped being fun. I know that it was fun, and then there was some consequences sprinkled in every now and then the consequences became more often and more serious. And then in the end, it was nothing but work. It was nothing but consequences. There wasn't a party left. The disease of alcoholism grows and grows and grows, and it destroys everything that ever mattered to you. So little by little, I lost it all. I lost one thing after another. Marriages, my relationships with friends, then eventually my relationships with family, and eventually my relationships with my children. When my daughter ended up leaving, I would like to say that was it. That I just said, I'm not going to do this anymore and I'm going to stop. It was really more of a time when I realized that I didn't have a choice anymore and that I couldn't stop. At that time in my life, I was hopeless. I was absolutely hopeless. I thought there's no way to ever come back from this. I have destroyed everything. I'm completely alone and there's no way my life can ever be fixed. This is how I'm going to be until I die. I just could not see a way out. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. I went to the hospital that day and they offered me the chance to get help and they sent me here. It was a process. I got to Springboard, and not only were they talking about the disease and the hopelessness of the disease and the loss of control in the disease, they were talking about a solution that could possibly work for me. And that's what I had been looking for. I had been looking for some hope. I just needed to know that whatever it was, I was willing to do it. That I wasn't too far gone. There was wonderful staff here. There was a wonderful, wonderful doctor, and I remember the embarrassment I felt because I'd always worked in healthcare. And I remember seeing the doctor, and it was an older gentleman, and I thought, how embarrassing I'm going to have to tell this doctor these things that I've been doing, right? And I remember him coming in the room and rubbing my arm and saying, don't worry, this is all going to heal. This is all going to heal. And that moment right there, that moment changed it all. I knew that the people here just wanted to help. Once I knew that there was hope that I wouldn't be in that prison anymore, I was going to do whatever I could do to stay sober. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. There was good days and there was hard days. And you know, the truth is, life doesn't stop happening because you stop drinking. You know, life is going to be life. I was just learning how to cope with life better. And if I had questions, or if I had worries, or if there was something that I could not handle, I had people that I could reach out to and ask for help. I thought July 22nd, 2014 was the end. I thought my life was over that day. And that is truly what it looked like at the time. I can look back on that day now and know that that was the best day of my life. That day, everything changed. I started to hear the truth about who I was. I was offered opportunities in order to change who I was. I could go back and make right the things that I had done wrong. You know, the past is always going to be the past, but I'm a different person today, and that is all a direct result from that day. You know, my relationships with my children have been mended. It took time, and it wasn't easy. It took effort, but what I have with them today, I wouldn't trade for anything. Most of us come in thinking we're too far gone. Most of us come in thinking, but I'm different. And I think that the most amazing thing about working here is being able to say, you're not different. And I understand where you're at. I was in the same spot, and this is what it looked like. And if you will follow these instructions, if you will just take these steps, you'll be able to recover too. You know, this program changed my life. It completely transformed everything. And it didn't just change my life. It changed my children's life. It changed my family's life. It changed my employer's life. It changed everything for me.